Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Roberts, joined with Taylor Smith, getting ready to go over this 2-game main slate over at DraftKings. Goodbye 4-game slates. Those are gone for fucking ever. And that did not go the way we thought it would or wanted it to yesterday. Boy, it sure feels fun to be anti-Giannis and then watch Giannis get 84 fancy points. And then later in the day, watch Jokic have a floor game. So, yeah, I didn't do great, but hopefully we can turn things around and get it going today. We have the Warriors and the Rockets playing an elimination game, and also the Wolves in LA playing the Lakers for an elimination game there as well. Honestly, across the board, you were looking at possibly 2 defensive slow-paced battles. So I just think we just need to kind of look at the best possible plays and look for a couple ways to get different and go from there. If anything we do here does help you out, please hit that like button. And also consider subscribing to the channel. Both those things help us out quite a bit. If you want a little bit more advice and insight and more finalized picks, you can hit up our Patreon. Just for $5.99 a month, you can get access to all of our picks for NBA, for UFL, for MMA, for NFL when it rolls around, and our MLB DFS stacks and picks also. And when you do that, you also get access to our Discord. So all of that together for just $5.99, quite the deal. All right, let's get into it. We go position by position here, starting at point guard. Anthony Edwards. Actually, you got to filter that. I think it's Luka Doncic. You got to filter the fantasy points. Luka leads the way with the highest projection at the point guard position. That should be to the shock of nobody. I think Luka feels like on a 2-game slate a bit of a priority. Like obviously Ant, Curry, Jimmy, LeBron, all those guys look really good. I don't have a problem with kind of building around them at all. But I think, especially since he's going to pick up some ownership and he does have the highest ceiling and his price is kind of pretty palatable at 10.8, I think I like getting to Luka quite a bit.
I think it's always fine to get to Luka. I just feel like on a 2-gamer where there's not a ton of cheap stuff that you love necessarily, I think a more balanced build is what I prefer, like with LeBron as the primary spin. There's a lot else in the mid-range that looks really good on this slate. So I'll probably be like, I'm not going to fade Luka entirely in like a 20 max set, but I just think it's more of a LeBron slate. Like the Lakers are going to shoot 800 free throws in this game. I don't think the NBA is going to let them lose. So certainly Luka is a good play. Like he can obviously get there. It's 10-8. It's hardly egregious, like you said. LeBron's the more underpriced of the two. You got Reeves also at point guard who looks like a good value. So I'm under on Luka. Cue up the 84-point Giannis special here, but I think I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, I like LeBron. Austin Reeves remains a really, really low price. Like Ant, as far as projection, is not far away from Luka, and he's way cheaper. So for all those reasons, I get it. And obviously, Luka's not going to be low owned at 40%. Like he's going to be, people are going to get him. But like if you look at last game, he did have 38 real points, and he didn't get there because weirdly in like 40 minutes he had 1 rebound. Like what is that? That never happens. And he had 2 assists. So like they were just not hitting any of the shots that when he was dishing it out. So we know as a scorer the upside is there. If the other stuff, if the peripherals can hit, I think Luka is going to be an absolute smash with the season on the line here. So we're just going to go different ways there. But like when we hand out our core and stuff, like I'm not putting Luka in the core or something. I'm not saying you have to play Luka. I just personally would be overweight because I think he's going to go off tonight. But honestly, there's a lot of value here too. Like I love FVV at 5.7K, getting 40 minutes every game. He does not have like like the most amazing ceiling, but for that price, his bottom so far in this series has been 23 fantasy points. Like I don't think that's too bad considering the slate. Like I think he's a really safe play, and given the minutes, like he does offer a little bit of upside, like we saw last game. And then you have Pod, and you have DiVincenzo. So those 3 guys are guys that I'm really getting to a lot. DiVincenzo ranks 3rd for me behind Fred and Pod just because he's a little bit less stable in the minutes department, but he is cheaper, so he's a little bit easier to get to.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I'm not getting to a ton of Luka is there is so much, like everyone else at point guard looks really good. Ben Thompson is down to 6'9" on DK. As is usually the case, I think you're playing him at small forward, so having point guard eligibility is okay, but I'm not really playing him here. Van Vliet has been pretty bad for a while. He hit like all of his shots in the last game. Obviously, they're going to need him to show up if they're going to extend their season, but the shooting's so erratic that it's kind of hard to fully trust. It's still a good value, though, and the minutes, like you said, are pretty insane. So he's a pretty safe feeling play. Pajemski a little bit more, projects a little bit worse than Van Vliet, but not really, by a lot, of course. Conley DiVincenzo thing, like Conley's cheap enough now at 3.5 to where I'm okay with it. Just DiVincenzo is playing more minutes off the bench. They need his shooting more. Like I've been saying, they don't really need Conley out there to handle the ball with Edwards doing it, and Randall can also kind of play make a little bit. So Conley's cheap enough to be fine. DiVincenzo is the one I'm getting to more still, 4,800. The one I'm really not getting to is Curry. Doesn't feel great. They shut him down pretty well in the last game. They're going to focus all their efforts again on stopping him. 9.5, so we're not really getting a discount on Steph these days. So with all the other guys who are discounted, the game environment, the matchup, just kind of fading Curry on this slate and hoping he doesn't go off.
Yeah, I'm okay getting to Curry and Ant. I just prefer Ant over Curry right now. Better projection, cheaper. And then I just prefer Luka too. Like you're already pushing 10K for Curry. I'm just going to go get Luka. Nothing wrong with Curry. If he's going to be like crazy low owned, I'll go a little bit over for sure. Certainly a good tournament play, but if he's going to be owned, I would definitely be less interested.
I just think like Edwards for 400 less just makes a lot more sense than Curry.
For sure.
I mean, the ownership should skew toward Edwards, of course, but really no issue with it. 9.1's cheap.
No, and by the way, like if you can get to Amen or Austin Reeves over Fred VanVleet or Podziemski, like why wouldn't you, right? They're not that much more expensive. They are safer. They do have a higher ceiling. Like Reeves has shooting guard eligibility. Fred VanVleet does not. Amen has small forward eligibility. Neither of those guys do. So I like FVV and Pod and Dante, depending on like how much you need them. Like it is a 2-game slate. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go get Luka? Do you want to go get LeBron? Do you want to pair Ant and LeBron? Like, what you want to do is going to dictate what you do with these point guards. Because, like you said, there's a lot of good guys here, but I think the value just starts really standing out just because like there's only so many things you can do. So, like Conley feels like a bit of a reach for me. Like, I don't want to do that. I think if like the ownership is egregious on DiVincenzo, you can entertain that and feel a little bit better about it. But I just think DiVincenzo is just a way better play. I'm just going to roll with him instead. Right now, I am fitting in Luka in my utility spot at the end, but I am prioritizing FVV in point guard, and then I'm getting to Pod in one of the guard spots quite a bit as well. DiVincenzo a little bit in shooting guard too. So like I guess I'm kind of ending up overlooking Ant and Curry a little. So I'm going to tweak that because I do not want to go into that second game with like basically no Anthony Edwards. That feels really bad. So that would be an adjustment I would make.
Yeah, I plugged in VanVleet just because I can play Podziemski and DiVincenzo as shooting guard. So I figure if we want to plug him in, we can do it over here instead.
Sounds good. All right, so yeah, I thought maybe you were going to do it. Okay, so Anthony Edwards, it looks awesome. Like if you really just want to break it down as far as like just point per dollar value, salary, upside, like Ant is like probably the best stud on the slate. No doubt about it. Like we kind of talked about this yesterday with like Giannis, and I think there's somebody else too that kind of factored into the conversation where we're like, if you just want the best fucking play, it was probably Giannis yesterday. And I went away from it because of narratives or ownership or just other, extra reasoning that can kind of like mess things up a little bit. And it really did. It really did mess it up yesterday for me. But like, if you just want like a really, really good play, like Anthony Edwards looks amazing. So if you want to pay up at shooting guard, I don't have a problem with that. Now you've refreshed, so I can't see any of the guys that are on the screen. So that's
the ownership went away. I don't know what's going on. The ownership vanished. Okay, we have some.
Okay, there we go. So if you want to pay up for Ant at point guard or shooting guard, I have no problem with it. He looks really good. Austin Reeves looks like a really nice value at 6'8". I'm kind of out on Jalen Green. Like, obviously for tournaments, he's got a ceiling like he showed in game 2, but like every other game he's been abysmal. Like, what are we doing here? I would that's why like going with somebody like FVV just feels really safe by comparison. Just like $1,000 cheaper. He's going to play 40 minutes. He's going to, even if he's not hitting shots, he's still going to do some shit out there. Like Jalen does not do much other than just score. So I think he's an interesting tournament play if that ownership comes down. If he's coming in like 30, 40%, like that feels kind of bad. Like I don't think I want to do that. I think I'd go to Pod. I think I'd go cheaper with DiVincenzo, and I'd just pivot to Austin Reeves, who just feels like a safer play.
I'll be surprised if Green is. I mean, I know it's a 2-game slate, so like he's not going to be unowned, but I'd be surprised if he's 30%. Like people see the game logs, people see that he played 24 minutes in the last game, not getting usage usually, not in the last game. He's out there to score. I don't know what they'll say to him between his 4-5, but I would imagine they're going to tell him to just keep being aggressive and look for a shot, which he wasn't doing in the last game. So assuming Van Vliet is far more owned than Green, I think Green is a really good leverage play if you want to fade Van Vliet in a tournament. But there is enough value here. Like Reeves for a little bit more is going to be a way better play. Also going to be way more popular. Pajemski for less. Like people see the game logs with him as well. And then we still have DiVincenzo. Buddy Hield started the last game, played pretty well, played pretty big minutes, 30 minutes in that one. He's only 4K. Assuming he starts again, I feel he's coming in at 50% ownership, which is understandable. Guard forward eligible, really no issue with it. But I think fading him is certainly one way to get different if he's owned by half the field.
Yeah, I think Buddy Hield is a pretty good chalky play to go a little bit away from for sure. Obviously, if he starts 4K and his positional versatility, that's nice. Like he's totally playable in a vacuum, looks like a good play. But he also is like super scoring dependent. So is there a reality where Buddy Hield comes out there, plays 25, 30 minutes and doesn't hit any of his fucking shots and does nothing and craters you? Yeah, there is. So
yeah,
because of that,
it's Steve Kerr, like he's going to play Moses Moody, he's going to play Gary Payton. Like if they play well,
right,
they could certainly cut into Buddy. They have Buddy at 29 minutes. Like there's certainly a path where he could play 20 and completely tank you at heavy ownership. So
exactly.
Good play in a vacuum. Good play projection wise, but
yep.
I think this is a very clear fade if you're looking for leverage on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything else to add on the bottom guys. I just think like right now the ownership, Pajemski is probably the most compelling play when you look at ownership alone. His price ticked up a little bit, but he was really good in the last game. We know he's going to start and get a lot of minutes. Like the matchup isn't great, but like I said, it's not good anywhere. So if everybody's playing Buddy at 4K or going 30% Jalen, I think Pajemski at low ownership is a really good play.
Yeah, I think I would just prefer DiVincenzo, like for the savings. I feel like he's going to be also, but just a safer play than Buddy Hield. I feel like his minutes are less at risk, assuming he can avoid foul trouble, which is not a certainty. I think he got into foul trouble in like game 2. But, salary-wise, Pajemski's a good play. I think I would just take the savings with Devo if we're looking to make
this is what
here.
I would say. I would say right now, if you had to pick one shooting guard, I'm comfortable going with DiVincenzo because it's a 2-game slate. You do need to get value somewhere, and he's certainly safer than Buddy Hield.
If we're fading Buddy, like you said, we need the value. So
yeah,
it's a good place to get it.
I am rostering DiVincenzo and Pajemski right now, personally. But if you don't want to do that, like Pajemski is safer because the minutes, but for value, DiVincenzo does look good. So let's go with that one and move on to small forward.
Works for me.
So yeah, like you said, LeBron, 9K, way too cheap, 52-point fantasy projection. Obviously the best small forward play on the board, best power forward play on the board. He's in contention for like being the best play overall on the entire slate for sure. But the ownership's also going to reflect that. So that's another reason why I'm like very in on Luka. I think LeBron's a really, really good play. He is way too cheap. I don't really have much of a case against LeBron. I just think everything leading to LeBron gives me a stronger case to like Luka for tournaments.
Yeah, and Reeves will also be more owned than Luka. So I wasn't saying Luka is a bad play at all. I just think given the discounts, given the way the roster comes together where there's value at guard and less value at forward generally, I feel like LeBron at 9K is just kind of a smash and chalk. I don't really want to fade.
Yeah, you could also just play both of them. Pretty decent chance, given their usage, that they both completely ball out at home to extend the series. Because he's like he's usually 10K. So it's like when we're in a situation where Luka's like 11K and LeBron's like 10.5 or something like we saw in the regular season, yeah, I don't really want to play them together because that's an insane amount of salary for two guys that are probably not going to both get 70 plus fantasy points. But LeBron's 9. Like LeBron absolutely can get 50 plus, and that would be paying off that salary basically. So I am okay with that if you land on LeBron and Luka. That said, LeBron's mega chalks, whether you leverage it with Luka or not, there are a few other options here. Amen Thompson's obviously the next one. I do like a lot of value here, though, namely Jaden McDaniels and Rui Hachimura. Just monster minutes for these guys. They can be a little bit scoring dependent, but so the floors aren't that super high. But I just love the minutes, love the price. And then you could, of course, go back to the whole Buddy Hield conversation again. But given the ownership right now, I think I prefer going to McDaniels and Rui first.
Yeah, we saw the Lakers play their starters every single minute of the second half in Game 4, which did not work out for them. I mean, they clearly wore down at the end, so I'm not expecting that again, even with their season on the line. But you pretty much know LeBron, Luka, and Reeves are going to play 40+. Rui's projected for 39, so he's playing the vast majority of the game. LeBron is the only one here with a higher projection minutes-wise. So I'm comfortable with Rui. He's underpriced 4.7. McDaniels at 5.8 is more appropriate, like closer to his ceiling. So if we're hunting for value, I don't mind eating Rui chalk. Also really like him in here, like we said, but he might be someone for one of these other spots, depending on how we build. But I think Rui is someone you kind of want to have here. So that's probably where I'd land.
I'm cool with that. Anybody else you like down here, like Tari Eason? You mentioned Gary Payton before, Moses Moody. Anybody else that? No? Okay.
I thought Tari would play a bigger role, but minutes have been kind of down in the series. Jabari Smith has kind of outplayed him off the bench. Brooks is still there. So I want to like Eason. I think he's viable as a total differentiator, but I'm not really get into him.
The only real reason I'm asking is because I think a lot of the good plays kind of show themselves. And then when you factor in projections and ownership, it's not that hard to, as we get going. But sometimes somebody like Atari Eason is going to pop off. And if we can see that before it happens, obviously that is ideal, right? So, but yeah, I'm with you. Like it's not really a guy that I feel super, super good about. Like Rui is $200 more and is going to play way more. It's just as an obvious play. So at power forward, LeBron obviously wins the day there. Jimmy again looks really good. I have no problem going back to Jimmy at half the ownership for LeBron. That looks really good. Julius looks okay at 7-1. I think if I'm going to pay up and it's not LeBron, it's going to be Jimmy. Obviously, you only have 3 options, but Jimmy just feels like a better play. Julius has been really good, though. Like, he's been playing monster minutes, scoring like 20-plus points like every game. This is clearly a good matchup for him. So if you want to land on Julius at that price, that is a decent price. I don't mind it. I just think as far as like ceiling and ownership and everything, I think Jimmy just grades out as a better play. And then you do have value here again. McDaniels, Rui can be played over here. Dylan Brooks, I still don't mind just because of minutes. Naz Reid at 4.9 is a solid value. Hasn't been very good in this series, but still a good value. And then Draymond Green at 6.2. I don't mind Draymond. I just think like Julius and Draymond for me are a little bit tough to get to when you have McDaniels and Rui there. Like if I'm going to pay up there, I think I'd rather just keep going to Jimmy or go all the way up to LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron is someone I'm almost surely going to have like over the field, even though he's 66% owned, like just way too underpriced. I do think Jimmy's the better play than Randall. The ownership skews toward Randall because he's much cheaper, but Jimmy for 8.3 is still underpriced for who he is. He looked fine despite his injury in Game 4. So I don't have an issue with that. Draymond, McDaniels, like, don't love it. I'd rather play Draymond, assuming McDaniels is going to be a little more owned than him, but don't have a lot of conviction with either of them. And then Finney Smith down here projected for 38 minutes at 4K flat. Played 40 in the last one, played 38 back there in Game 2. Doesn't get any usage, as you can see over here, like 12% is the most he's gotten in a game, but he's 4K is projected for upwards of 40 minutes. So chalky Finney Smith is not a fun thing to do, but he's projected lower owned than Buddy Hield, so I think that's an okay play.
Yeah, like really, like we said, like you can just eat that chalk if you want to. You could even eat both of them if you want to. I don't feel very good about either of them. So I'm probably going to be a little bit underweight on them both or split them up for sure. I just feel like pairing them together in a lot of lineups, that feels really bad. The odds of both Buddy Hield and Dorian Finney-Smith not sinking me in the same lineup is not good. Those aren't good odds. So that's probably what I'm doing. I hear you on the Rui versus Dre thing. Like, it's true because Dre is certainly safer. I just feel like I like the minutes a little bit more with Rui.
McDaniels, you mean?
I mean, yeah, McDaniels, I meant, yeah. And
I think
McDaniels
Dylan Brooks also 4.6 is still really cheap.
Yeah.
And, he hasn't been amazing. The minute there for the most part, doesn't get a ton of usage. But if you're shopping down here, Jabari is okay if he gets a few more minutes, projected for 25. Naz Reid, same thing. Obviously, Reid has the highest ceiling of this group. But I don't know. I don't really love this cheap Minnesota stuff beyond DiVincenzo. I feel like the Lakers are going to win this game. Not that they can't get there, but Brooks, I feel kind of a little bit better about. Don't see any ownership, which is frustrating. It keeps vanishing, but where would you land here if you're picking one of them?
I think
LeBron.
Nas.
We haven't paid for anyone yet.
I mean, yeah, if you're that dead set on LeBron, that's totally fine. We can do that. I will just mention though, like a big reason we kind of talked about it shooting guard too, but like at forward here, a big reason why you can pretty confidently go away from somebody like Finney-Smith. You already mentioned one thing that maybe they might scale the minutes back for some of these guys. Finney-Smith you'd imagine would be one of the first guys they would take off the floor then. But Nas is only $900.
I don't think they're going to play the whole second half. I still think they have a path to 40-ish minutes because their season's on the line. And obviously Redick trusts a grand total of 5 people to play basketball for him. So
right.
I don't mind Finney-Smith. Like I said, I feel better about him at his ownership than I do about Buddy at his.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying Dylan and Nas Dylan and Nas are 2 good examples here of how you're not paying up that much more for guys who are not going to be owned by comparison. You just need Dorian Finney-Smith to not nuke. And then if those guys can do better than him, you're not sacrificing that much money to get very different quickly at that position. So that's probably what I'd be doing more of than the field is. But if you land on Finney-Smith at 32%, I think that's okay.
I agree.
All right. So at center, Şengün. I loved Şengün last night. He put up 56 fantasy points. That was beautiful. I think he helped one of our people in Discord take down a $400 win. So that was pretty cool. So just another example of you need to come in and enjoy the Discord, check out what we have on Patreon. I think it is helpful, and it's only $5.99 a month to get access to everything that we do. So Şengün, once again, looks good. The only difference is I liked him as a pivot off of Jimmy. Or no, as a pivot off of Bam last slate. So there's not really that direct pivot except for maybe LeBron. So you could do that. You could argue that. I do think, though, on this slate, if I'm going to pay for somebody who's $9K, it is just going to be LeBron. I don't have a problem with eating chalk in that regard. But Şengün is still a good play. It is a matchup he can feast in. Already talked about Julius and Draymond. Rudy is super cheap, but just he's not doing anything. He's not playing enough minutes. So I'm just not really into it. I think because the price, you can play him. He's not going to be owned. He does have a ceiling. He can go out there and get a double-double and have a block party. But I just am not going to do that. I think at center, it's basically, Nas, maybe Finney-Smith can be played here. I guess your boy Steven Adams at 3.6. Center's pretty gross.
Yeah, Adams played 26 in game 4 as most of the series. Hasn't had a ton of upside, but 20 plus at his price will certainly do. He's gotten there in 3 of the 4 games. Doesn't feel amazing, but he's 3.6, and if Finney-Smith is going to be chalk in this range, I don't mind that. I also don't mind Quentin Post at 3.8, playing minutes off the bench. I think he started game 3. Played 27 minutes, the most he's played in a game in this series, 20 plus fantasy points in 3 in a row. So he's clearly got a role. Again, if Finney-Smith is more owned, you can save money with Post. I really don't mind either of them. I think I slightly prefer Post. His minutes have been a little bit safer in general, but it is the Golden State rotation, so take that with a grain of salt. I think Jabari is okay. I think Gobert is someone I'm going to buy low on now that he's down to 5-1. He's still playing mid-20s minutes. He hasn't done a goddamn thing out there in the entire series, but That doesn't mean he won't. Like, game logs only tell you so much. I don't know what could happen to give him more minutes, but maybe Nas gets into foul trouble, maybe Randall gets into foul trouble, something like that. So I do think Gobert is a pretty good buy low. It's cheap enough now to where I'm going to be in on it. Even if it doesn't work out, I think it's a pretty good play, especially because center being Şengün, there's really nothing to pay for. There's not a ton of opportunity cost here. So for the most part, I'm paying up elsewhere and paying down at center.
I think this would be a good spot to use Nas if you're in a Nas. It's a good spot to use Dorian Finney-Smith if you're if you're going to eat that chalk. That's probably those are the two guys I'd go to first. I hear you on Rudy. I agree with that. The price is amazing. So if you want to play Rudy, there's nothing wrong with it just based on price. I don't hate the Steven Adams thing. I'm not going to join you on Quinta Post just because that creative player is super volatile. But Adams I'm down for, especially after he got 26 minutes last game. There's a lot of like interesting cheap plays on this slate when you start talking about Hield and Finney-Smith and Steven Adams to the point where like you could start talking about like a stars and scrubs situation if you want to. But yeah, we can slide Adams in there to get maximum savings here. And then if you want to run it,
7,400 left if you run with that 5, even with LeBron in there. Just running a quick one over here. Reeves, Jimmy, and Randall to round things out. So pretty sexy. Pretty balanced build. You're not getting Luka. But Luka's really he's the only 5-figure player on the slate. So like passing on Ant, Şengün, Curry, but I don't have an issue with it. I think this is a pretty strong looking starting point.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I am curious to see if we remove those 3 guys and we put in Luka, how much money are you left with to split between those last 2 spots?
57. So gets you Buddy, gets you Austin Reeves.
I don't mind that.
Not too shabby.
That's also pretty good. I think the balance build, I think you're right in that the balance build feels more natural and it looks better on this slate. But all the more reason that perhaps ownership is going to go away from Luka a little bit. And plus, since LeBron's already so chalky, I don't know. I guess if we want to wrap things up here and look at our strategy and flag plant of the night, I don't want Luka to be my only flag plant because he's fucking Luka. Actually, his ownership looks really low now. Yeah, I mean,
I think,
for me personally. But the other thing is, I think Pod's ownership is really low as well. I think mine is going to be Luka and then Podziemski over Buddy Hield. I think that's an interesting way to get different from the field. And then you can decide if you want to take these dives like Steven Adams and Finney-Smith and that.
Yeah, I think fading Buddy Hield is just going to be my flag plant. Like, I don't mind building without him. There's enough value, like we talked about at center and the other guard spots, to where I don't really want to play Buddy Hield. His own 50% of the field.
Right.
Turned into a poem accidentally right there. But there's a lot else to like on the high end. Like, I think LeBron is the most obvious play. That's chalk I'm just going to eat. Qualm I would have with this build is you're getting LeBron, Luka, and Reeves. So I don't know if I love all of the high usage Lakers together. They are a little discounted, so there's a chance they can still get there in the same game. But I consider altering this to, probably max 2 LeBron, Luka, Reeves. But otherwise, I think just fading Hield is a good way to get edge. I don't think if you build without really caring about ownership that you have to care about ownership as long as you're fading Hield.
Yeah, like one thing you could do right away to get different from that is just drop down to Jalen Green if you want to from Reeves. Or you could drop down further to Pod and see what else it opens up. Maybe you jump up over Steven Adams if you don't want to lock him in. Because, like, Steven Adams is a really good punt on 2-game slate, but he's obviously not, like, a super safe play. I do think, though, like, center, like, if you're not paying for Şengün, like, what are you doing there? So, like, you're going down somewhere, right? You're going to save money in some spot. You're taking a risk on Rudy. You're taking a risk on Nas. So, like, to me, like, Finney-Smith or Steven Adams kind of stand out as, like, the best way to go there in a lot of the lineups. Like, Finney-Smith is chalky. Steven Adams probably wouldn't be. So, all right, that is going to do it for us. Hopefully that helps you out. I think the big value with videos like this is kind of just looking over every possible scenario, especially on a 2-game slate where, like, you can't get anything wrong. If you're going to max a contest, you just need that one lineup that is fucking basically perfect. But also just a big thing is, like, finding spots to leverage. And we're in agreement here today that Buddy Hield going against Buddy Hield is probably the best and fastest way to do that. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, come join us on Patreon and in Discord, just $5.99 a month to do so. And thanks for watching, and good luck.